Welcome to Psych and Hip Hop Talk This Way, where we explore the intersection of mental health and urban culture. I'm your host, Natanya Wachtel. Today, we have a powerful and inspirational guest, E Murda, a prominent hip hop artist from Stamford, Connecticut, whose journey through adversity and triumph is nothing short of remarkable. E Murda is known for his raw and authentic rap style and has made a name for himself in the Connecticut hip hop scene. But his music is not just a form of personal expression, it's also a reflection of his life struggles and victories. At the age of 18, E. Murda faced significant legal challenges, including an arrest for an attempted murder charge, which also resulted in prison time. This period of his life was marked by severe hardship, but it also became a turning point. Through resilience and determination, E. Murda turned to religion and fitness to maintain his mental and physical well-being while navigating the legal system. His unwavering faith and commitment to self improvement helped him overcome these obstacles and also eventually resulting in his acquittal. His profound experience shaped his music and his message, emphasizing the importance of self love, perseverance, and the power of positive thinking. Today, E. Murda uses his platform to inspire others facing similar struggles. His music addresses themes of redemption, personal growth, and the harsh realities of street life, offering a beacon of hope for those who feel lost. Hey, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We are going to talk about I'm going to say some shit today on Psych and Hip Hop. I try not to curse, but it comes out a little bit because it's really shit, right? It's the good and the bad. It's as slang and as reality. Some of your personal experiences, and thank you for being vulnerable today. That's part of it. And some of the things that help you get by, and some of the unique things as an artist that you face, and some of the things about your identity in terms of being sort of celebrity and someone that people look up to and what that feels like. So thank you again for being open with me today. And you ready to get started?
Let's do it.
All
I'm ready.
right. All right. Okay. So, for those of the folks who might be listening or watching that don't know who you are, let's just start with who you are and a little bit about you and your music and sort of what you're into right now.
So I go by the name of E Murda. You guys could catch me on Instagram at E Murda 203. And I'm a rapper out of Connecticut. I'm from Stamford, Connecticut. And I make hip hop, rap, real rap.
Yeah. And you've seen some things and experienced some things and have friends and family that have gone through some things of all kinds, which
Right.
I'm sure people could imagine. So I wanted to know if you can tell us a little bit about your own sort of. And I'll say this in a way that leaves it open to as deep as you want to go, because it's really great. You told me we can go anywhere, which is amazing. But
Right.
that a lot of people are not that open. So thank you. So let's talk about, some challenging times in your life and kind of what that was like for you. And then let's talk about how you got out of it and who you turned to and what you did and how you felt about yourself. So all those layers as best you can. Would you help share that a little bit?
So challenging time was like probably when I just turned 18 and I caught my first case, my first criminal case, and I was arrested for something that had went down with a co-defendant of mine and a friend of mine, and somebody was stabbed. And long story short, we were arrested for it for an attempted murder, and pretty much that just kind of like just
At
it
18
was
years
like
old.
yeah. So and it was literally a month after my birthday. My birthday's April 3rd. I got arrested May 3rd. So it was literally 1 month after being 18, and I'm just like I blew it, you know.
So you
Like
kind
I
of
thought,
felt like
I
you
was
just
about to
threw
be
your
over.
life away, yeah.
Yeah, because they first of all, when I was in the holding cell, they lied to me and said the guy died. So they're like, you're fighting a murder right now.
Mhm.
Like, damn. I'm just like, that's that's horrible.
Can I ask about family and how everyone around you took this?
Well, pretty much it was like it was a big shock because it was like it was big charges. So my mom was just like, distraught,
Yeah.
and
I'm a mom, I can imagine. That's why I'm asking, and that what you had to internalize about yourself and in the eyes of your mom, right? Like that was pretty horrible. But you're here today and you found an outlet in your music and in other things that you do. So can you talk us through a little bit about once the shock of what went down went off and once the sort of reality of what you had to go through um, was like more, I guess, normalized, not normal. How did you kind of find yourself again? How did you find to start not, having self-loathing, hating yourself for what happened and the direction your life is
So
going?
I kind of just stayed strong because it was like I was offered 10 years, my first offer, and I thought it was about to be a long time before I come home, and I kind of just stayed strong, and I turned to religion. I started just praying to God and asking God to help me get out of the situation that I was in, and pretty much just praying and doing exercise, a lot of exercise. I remember I would do push-ups. I started doing push-ups, and I started doing 100 in sets, and then I could do 100 straight, and then I would do 3 sets of 100 per day, and then I did 5 sets, and then I ended up doing 1,000 a day. So I kind of like let the fitness and like the religion, just like aspect of it, just like help me like guide myself out of it and stay positive. And I feel like when I did that, it just changed the whole course of the energy of the case and everything, because I stayed strong. I believed in myself. I got a really good lawyer, and then I ended up getting another lawyer on the case. So I had two lawyers, really good lawyers on it, and pretty much, financially, I was really, really well positioned at that time. So I didn't I didn't ever get any financial assistance from since like literally from anybody else.
So you had to do everything
So
yourself, and something within yourself
yeah, pretty
drew you to release into a higher power. So for some people listening, that's Jesus, or some people it's Buddha, some people it's just the word God or source, respectfully, right? But what's really powerful about that is that idea that you have more life to live and you're worth it, and you drew on
exactly
strength from something bigger than yourself, and then you took that extra energy and that pain and that stress and that worry and you literally released it through exercise, which has all of that has been studied among all of the
exactly
right. I mean, these are classic psychology things, but they're real because they're real, and you're walking proof of that. And I know for my own struggles, physical movement was one of the things that really helped me take it to the next level as well. So I totally relate to that. Obviously, different circumstances, but as a human being, I understand that transformative feeling. You kind of wake up, no matter where you wake up, in beauty or in pain, but you see yourself in the world as purposeful, and that's amazing.
right.
And I'm so happy because your age at the time is a very volatile age. Under 24, your brain is still developing, your hormones are flooding. Like it's hard to think straight anyway for regular happy go lucky 18. And so that's just so incredible. I was wondering if you were willing to talk a little bit about like your friends and any friends of yours or you with your friends, because now you drew on that strength and you built those skills up at a young age through like a really big test. I mean, that's what I think these trials are, a test. I don't mean legal trials. I mean like trials and tribulations. They're like a test of spirit, right? And resistance and resilience. And those words mean different things to different people. Some people that means getting up out of the bed. Some people it means taking a shower. Some people it means going to their job or creating art or music, right? So I'm not putting any judgment on it, but I do want to break it down for people to make sure they draw a parallel in to themselves from your story, because that's pretty extreme. In fact, that's just really, really incredible. And I'm just, we only recently met, but I'm just really proud of you. And I'm really happy that you were able to find
Thank you. I appreciate that.
as a human and as a mom, like that would be the worst because it's almost two traumas in one: the trauma of the incident and then the trauma of how you felt moving through it
Right. And it's crazy because if I had took the first offer that they offered me, I'd still be
right
in
now.
prison right now.
And I think
And the system
yeah,
railroads you because they make you feel like it's the only option that you
you're
have.
scared
So
and
it
you're
was like
vulnerable and you're
it was
young and you're a color. Like
yeah.
those are real.
And even my
Yeah.
lawyer was like listen, he was like, what do you want out of this? I was like, no jail time, no felony. He was like, and I want hair on my head. Like, he's bald, bald older Jewish man, and he's just like, that's impossible. Like, that's not gonna happen. If I beat this case with no jail time and no felony, then I'll have hair on my head tomorrow. And I'm just like, all right. Long story short, I let God be the final judge, and he didn't grow no hair on that
Everything
head,
else,
but
everything
he
else.
should have. I ended up getting no jail time and no felony, and even he actually apologized to me
Oh
and
no, he
was like,
dropped.
"That's crazy, times this ever happened."
Um, I don't know if it cut out for you, Ryan, but it cut out for
Yeah,
me for a
just
second.
cut out for me too.
Yeah, so say
Did it
that last line, like, he didn't have hair on his head, but let's say that, like
So he didn't have hair on his head, but we definitely beat the case, and I didn't get no felony time, and he even apologized for it and everything, and was like, this has never really happened before, but
yeah, I mean, he was
I don't
acting from
know
a
how it
place
happened.
of facts and information and case
Yeah, it
law and his
was in a
experience.
spiritual energy kind of response to him where it was just like, I don't want to hear none of that. And he saw me as like a stubborn younger, like, okay, you think you know it all. I've been a lawyer for 40 years. And I'm like, all right, you
Yeah.
know, and it
Yeah, you
ended
have
up
to be
working.
open. I think that's another good point you made, I just wanna draw it out. You were open to the impossible,
Of course.
and you
And
asked for
he
it.
made it known that it was impossible.
Right, so you that's why I'm saying, right? So you were open to the impossible because in the
Straight
information
up.
you had in this material world, which is case law and experience for someone of your age and your background and what that supposed charges were and all about, it was the impossible. But you
Exactly.
were able to believe 2 things, that it was possible and that you deserved it. And the reason you were able to believe you deserved it, you know where I'm going with this, is because you were able to find within yourself self-love. And
Right.
unfortunately, for a lot of people, they're not there.
Yeah.
And even if they
Exactly.
admit that or not, right? So that's why your story to me is like hella powerful. Oh, excuse
And
my
to
Spanish.
anybody watching this, and if you're going through something, or you have you have a tough time just with self-love and all that, I feel like you should always, even if you're not religious, even if you don't believe in a higher power, reach out to it, try it, you know
Nature.
go
Call
for
it
it.
what you need to call it.
Yeah,
Something
and
new.
even if you're not, try it, because maybe, okay, maybe you don't believe in a higher power, or you don't believe in any of that, but that's why you might be in that negative state, because maybe you do need to reach out to God, and maybe you do need to reach out to God, and maybe you do need to, and just find yourself through that. So, also exercise. Exercise
Moving
helps
the
the
body, the
mind a
body.
lot. It helps. There's scientific evidence that
Absolutely.
literally tells you that it helps. So, if you're going through something, mentally, I feel like those are two things that are very vital. Those are two things that help me a lot, and I feel like those are two things that I would recommend to anybody and any man out there that's going through something,
Did you
man or woman.
Yeah, right, absolutely. Did you feel that you could talk about your sense of self and the struggle with any friends or anyone that you were, put in contact with that were, like contemporaries, like your age guys at that time?
So it would be like, I'd reach out, but nobody really wants to hear it. And it was like, you know when you're the one in jail, it's like out of sight, out of mind. So a lot of people stop picking up the phone, and a lot of people stop, you know getting
Associate.
in contact with
Yeah,
you. So
I figured that that's kind of why I asked you to say that because the isolation, like what you did at a time when a lot of the signals a lot of other people might not have. I
not for
love
real.
that you can tell people it's possible, but I wanna talk about things like, we talked about kinda surrendering to a higher power, surrendering yourself to say, "I'm not done yet, and yeah, maybe I did a bad thing or the wrong thing at the wrong time, or there was a mistake, or I wish I had said those words or done those actions. I can redeem myself. I can be
Of
here. I
course.
deserve to be here." And this is some basic
Exactly.
language that, like, is considered wussy language that nobody like, we don't need that
Yeah.
here. and yet
because a
it's
lot
like
of times
basic, right?
life
Like
or the system or certain things will make you feel like you're not worth it and you're not,
you're less
you
than.
can't do it, or certain things are impossible. But it's never wussy or less than a man to ever, say these affirmations to yourself and let yourself know that you are worth it and you are valuable and you are able to do anything that you want in this world. So always look at yourself if you're listening to this and you have problems with that, and look in the mirror and tell yourself these affirmations and believe it, because that does not make you less of a man or a wussy to love yourself.
Yeah, and so I would say there's 2 other little parts that I'd love for you to express in your own words too, around what we can do when we're feeling good for other people, when we recognize, because you said, like, out of sight, out of mind, and whether it's in a incarceration situation or just someone's not coming out on the scene, in their home. And, we were saying before the show about women generally, and again, I'm overgeneralizing, we're not talking about where there's abuse and other things, but in
Of
the
course.
general sense, women have a societal acceptance to connect with each other when things are good and bad. We share our
Right.
trials and tribulations, we buoy each other with that automatically. It's like it's kind of a known thing in culture, right? But not men, and not a lot of times in the Black community was it allowed. I think more now. We have a little age gap, right? So when
Right.
I was coming up and friends of mine growing up, I mean, that's what I saw. And then I knew that, like, people were confiding in me. I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not a medical doctor, but for some reason I got trust and I honor that. And I knew that something was off if they're like, you're the only person I can tell. And I'm like, that's not right. Like, I thank you for
Exactly.
trusting me. So the only other thing I do have to throw out there, and then I'd like you to answer, is that if you're really struggling and you're listening to this, please know that there is a national suicide support line, 988. It is free. It is anonymous. And even though it's suicide, if you're just not able to find that self-love and think you'd be better off not here, or you're just in a dark way, please call that number anytime, day or night.
Please do.
So sorry. So now let's go back to, what would you want to say to other guys? It doesn't have to be guys, but just like other people who may or may not be, let's say, trained or is open to checking in on friends or hearing from a friend. What would you wish maybe the people would have
You know,
done for
I've lost people to suicide, and I've been in that position where you wish they reached out. So if you're in that position where you don't feel like people care and you don't want to reach out, I feel like you should, because you're already putting yourself in this crazy position where you're about to do the unexplainable, the unthinkable, the unmanageable, what you should never do. And that's, go through it and take your own life if that's what's on your mind. And I feel like that should never be the answer.
You should never feel like you shouldn't exist. That
Yeah, you should always reach
even if
out. Always reach
even
out.
if you've betrayed someone, even if you've killed someone, like whatever, the worst thing, I don't even know. I'm trying to say things that people
You're
would
still worthy.
if you want to have redemption, if you want to live in love, if you want to try and do good things and make right in the world is here for you. And that's like some hallmark messaging, but I want it to get deep in people's brains. All kinds of people, that culture taught them that that's not
Seriously.
true.
Especially the people that need to hear it, because there's a lot of people that are strong, but there's a lot of people that need to hear this because they aren't strong, and they need help being strong, and we're here.
Awesome. I
You know?
mean, I studied all this psych and I had a dark time. It wasn't suicide per se, but I was in such denial when I was really sick. And I've seen it in, family member, people who also struggled worse than me, and seeing that helplessness of being the witness to it. So the other thing I would say is, let's encourage, and we talked about this, so I'm just repeating it because it wasn't recording, about encouraging people to reach out and check proactively, do a check-in. If someone's like
Exactly.
acting very differently all of a sudden, because a lot of times these things go hand in hand with other behaviors that are like telltale signs, right? Like, again, no judgment. I'm not telling you not to smoke or drink or do what you're going to do in your life. But when it gets to that gray knife's edge, right, where you're a danger to yourself or others, or you're not participating in life anymore, if you see a friend doing that, don't write them off, man, because like you don't know their pain, and maybe you're the one that can help them turn things around.
Exactly. And I feel like if you're the strong friend, if you're, the mentally strong friend who isn't going through anything, you should always be checking up on your weaker friends, or like the friends that that have a weaker mentality, that that need the help. And there's nothing wrong with having a weaker mentality. I'm not saying it to belittle
Yeah, I
anything
like to
or
use the
anyone.
word, like affected or
Affected,
sensitive,
right? Or
because it's
sensitive.
because it's not weak, it's reacting to usually some serious stuff, or your brain
That's
tells
true.
you there's serious
That's
stuff.
true.
So I didn't mean to correct you, but I'm trying to
No,
change
you're
some of
right.
the language, like it's not weak. It's just a moment that you don't have all your full strength. Your battery
No,
may be
I'm
depleted.
glad you corrected my diction, because it's something that has to be corrected, and I feel like it's a societal thing that
Absolutely.
makes it a weak-minded thing, when in reality it's not. And I'm glad you did bring
Human.
that
It's
up, so that,
human to be upset. It's human to feel
of
like
course,
if
it
you
is
got
human.
dumped or you accidentally hurt someone or you hurt someone in anger and then you're like, "Oh, I don't know what come over
Right,
me." Like,
because something I was speaking about with somebody is earlier this week was like, it's human to sin. So it's human to do wrong things, and it's okay. And it's, as long as you repent, and as long as you keep going forward, it'll be okay.
yeah, and then, I think the thing that and I know in our journey of like feeling back to good and how is when then you can turn around and you can actually help someone else. And that's how you kind of wipe the slate clean. That's what I think anyway. You sort of
Exactly.
burn off that karmic debt. You're like, "Okay, I did those things. Maybe I was influenced by this or that." You own it. And then you say, "But I'm still worth it. I can do things. I can help people. I can help myself. I can help those around me." And when you do that, more good things happen. And since then, you have had an incredible turnaround and a success. And your music we will feature when we play the show, of course. And I'm just so grateful that opened up to me today and took this time. I have a feeling we're going to be talking again. And
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
is there anything else that you'd like to share, that we didn't cover?
So I just pretty much going off of what we were speaking about, that goes to tell you that I had a time in my life where everything was pretty much going wrong. And instead of, giving up on myself, giving up on life, and just letting the negative things conquer me, and just like, ruin everything that I did have going for myself, I triumphed by staying strong, and turning to God, turning to a higher power, and just turning to fitness, turning to exercise, and just turning to self love, and just staying strong. When they told me that I wasn't worthy of being free, I told myself I was worthy of being free. There was a CO one time when I was locked up. He told me I was an animal, and that's why they had me in a cage. And I told him, God bless you. I told him, God bless you, and he told me I didn't sneeze. And I said, it's okay. I said, he walked away and had the last word. I didn't sneeze.
You're sort of, sorry, I got emotional because that like hurt me to hear that. And I know you've
Right.
had worse. I'm
And I'll
sorry. I'm
never
just
forget that.
reacting. But
And,
that's like the most horrible.
yeah, thing you could say to somebody. And I say that to say
Not
this.
even
I've been as
someone's
low as the
child, maybe
ground, and
someone.
now I'm doing very well for myself. I'm about to go on my second tour to Europe. I'm actually about to leave right now as soon as we hang up to the airport. 13 countries. I'm doing great. My numbers are going up.
Yeah.
Everything's been good. I've been staying out of trouble now for 8 years. Everything's just gone good, all by just staying strong and just believing in myself. So for all of those people that are listening, my advice is always believe in yourself, and always count on yourself, and bet on yourself, and always love yourself.
Absolutely. And if you can't, don't be ashamed to ask for help. I think those are the
Always,
messages that we
always reach out, always ask for help. And if you are feeling suicidal, please call the suicidal hotline.
thank you so much. Have a safe flight. I'm so excited for
Thank
you.
you so much for having
You're
me.
an
It's an
angel
honor.
on earth.
It's a
I
pleasure.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Many
Bye-bye.
more to come.
At the Natanya Experience, we believe we can all rise above challenges, heal, and shine together. And so we give big thanks to our amazing partners who share our vision of universal health and happiness.